My name is Talia. I am 31 years old, and my parents sold my grandmother's jewelry shop for $710,000 while telling me grief made me confused. They sold the counters, the safe, and the velvet display cases. They forgot the shop name, the custom designs, and the supplier contracts were registered to my company. The first time I realized the shop was gone, I was standing across the street holding a paper cup of coffee I had not wanted. The sign above the door still said Sorel & Stone in faded brass letters. The window still had the little crescent moon etched in the lower corner, the mark my grandmother used on every ring she designed. But there was a real estate placard taped inside the glass. Sold. Not pending. Not under review. Sold. I stood there while morning traffic moved behind me and felt something inside my chest become very still. My grandmother, Mabel Sorel, opened that shop in 1979 with a loan from a woman at her church and 2 trays of repaired watches. By the time I was old enough to climb onto the stool behind the counter, she had turned it into the kind of place where people came to buy engagement rings, graduation charms, apology necklaces, and tiny silver spoons nobody needed but everyone liked to touch. She raised me there more than my parents did. My mother, Verity, said the shop smelled like metal polish and old people. My father, Nolan, called it your grandmother's hobby until the year it paid off their mortgage. My older brother, Cale, liked it only when Grandma let him take cash deliveries to the bank and pretend he was important. I loved everything about it. I loved the velvet trays, the loop on Grandma's chain, the old ledger where she wrote repair notes in square handwriting. I loved the back room where she kept sketches in flat files and tea bags in a tin marked emeralds. I loved the sound of the bell over the front door because Grandma always looked up, as if the person entering might be carrying a story, not just a watch with a broken clasp. When I was 16, she taught me to draw settings. A good design does not shout, she said. It holds. That became the first lesson I understood before I understood myself. By 24, I had a small online business selling replicas of Grandma's older designs with her permission. We called it Sorel Studio because she said the shop was the body, but the designs were the breath. Her attorney helped us set it up. The company registered the crescent mark, the Sorel & Stone name for design use, and several signature collections. My parents signed nothing. They did not care. At the time, they thought it was a cute project. Let Talia play website, my father said once at Thanksgiving. Grandma heard him. That website made more last month than your boat, she said. He did not speak to her for the rest of dinner. 3 years before she died, Grandma had a stroke in the back room of the shop. I found her because she had missed our 11 o'clock tea call. She survived, but her right hand never fully recovered. She could still talk, still argue, still identify a fake stone from across a table, but she could not set tiny prongs anymore. That was when my parents became interested. They visited more. They brought papers. They used words like simplify, protect, transition. My mother started calling the shop an asset. My father asked about insurance. Cale asked whether the building could be converted into luxury office space. Grandma hated all of it. They smell money and call it concern, she told me. I asked if she wanted me to fight them. Not yet, she said. First, we make sure they cannot steal the part that matters. So we did. Her attorney, Mr. Bexley, updated the lease agreements, design licenses, supplier contacts, and trademark documents. The building itself remained in Grandma's estate because she wanted flexibility. But the name, the design archive, the crescent mark, and the supplier contracts moved fully under my company with a perpetual license signed by Grandma while she was still sharp enough to correct the attorney's punctuation. I kept copies in a blue binder. My parents saw the binder once and laughed. Your sister and her binders, Cale said, though he was my brother and had always enjoyed making mistakes sound like jokes. Grandma died on a rainy Tuesday in March. The funeral was full of women touching necklaces she had repaired and men wearing watches she had brought back to life. People cried in the aisles. My mother cried the loudest, which might have moved me if she had not spent the reception asking who had keys to the shop. 2 days later, I asked about reopening. My father put his hand on my shoulder. Talia, your grandmother left things complicated. What does that mean? My mother looked at the floor. There is debt. There was not. I knew there was not because I had helped Grandma reconcile accounts every quarter. Show me. My father's hand left my shoulder. This is not the time to be difficult. That became the family line. I was difficult. I was emotional. I was confused by grief. When I asked for the will, they said the attorney had not finished probate. When I called Mr. Bexley, his assistant said my father had instructed all estate questions to go through him because Talia is not handling the loss well. That was the first lie that made me take out the blue binder. I did not storm into anyone's house. I did not accuse them on social media. I scanned every document. I made a timeline. I requested copies from the trademark office. I called 2 suppliers and asked whether they had received any change of control notices. One supplier, a woman named Sita, who had sold Grandma chains from Italy for 20 years, paused. "Your father called last week," she said. "What did he want?" "To move the account to a new buyer after sale completion." "What sale?" She went silent. That afternoon, I drove downtown and saw the sold sign. My family had sold the building, the counters, the safe, the display cases, and the goodwill of a shop they had barely respected until someone put a price on it. I called my father from across the street. He answered on the 4th ring. "Talia, you sold the shop." He sighed, not like a man caught, but like a man inconvenienced. "We had to make decisions. Without telling me, you were too attached." "How much?" "That is not your concern." "How much, Dad?" He paused. $710,000. The number hit me in pieces, not because I wanted the money, because he said it with pride. "Who bought it?" "A boutique group. They are going to modernize." "Using what name?" The name came with the business. I looked at the brass letters above the door. "No," I said, "it did not." He gave a small laugh. "Do not start with your website paperwork. That paperwork owns the name. The building says otherwise. Buildings do not own trademarks." His voice hardened. "Listen to me carefully. Your grandmother trusted us to handle the adult decisions. Do not embarrass this family by making claims you do not understand." There it was again. Embarrass the family. The phrase people use when they want your silence to protect their theft. I said, "Send me the sale documents." "No." "Then I will request them." "If you interfere with this sale, Talia, you will regret it." I looked at the crescent moon in the window and thought of Grandma's hand guiding mine over sketch paper. "I already regret trusting you," I said, and hung up. The buyers announced the reopening 2 weeks later. Sorrel and Stone, reimagined for a new generation. They posted it online with a photo of the old brass sign and a caption about honoring legacy. My mother's friends shared it with hearts. Kale commented, "Excited for what is next." My father liked every comment except the one from Sita asking whether Talia was involved. I called the boutique group's office and asked for their counsel. The receptionist transferred me to a man named Peter Voss, who sounded like he had been born wearing a headset. "We purchased all operating assets," he said. "You purchased physical assets, and whatever my parents represented, they could sell. You did not purchase the registered marks or design licenses." "Ms. Sorrel, with respect, family disputes are not our issue. Trademark infringement will be." He paused. That pause told me he had opened a new window on his computer. "Can you send documentation?" "Yes." "Today?" "In 10 minutes." I sent the blue binder digitally. Trademark registration, design archive assignment, supplier continuity agreements, Grandma's signature, my company seal, the date, the notary stamp. Peter called back in 7 minutes. His voice had lost the headset confidence. "We need to postpone the reopening. You need to stop using the name. We need to review. Review quickly." My parents found out that evening. My mother called first. "What have you done?" I was sitting at Grandma's kitchen table, sorting old sketch cards by collection. "Protected what Grandma protected. Those people are threatening to sue us." "Then you should call a lawyer." "We are your parents. You were also the sellers." She made a sound of disgust. You would destroy your grandmother's legacy over a technicality? I looked at the blue binder. The technicality is the legacy. My father took the phone. You need to sign a release. No. We will compensate you. With what? Money from the sale you hid? Do not be dramatic. You sold the shop behind my back and told people grief made me unstable. Silence. So he knew I knew. That was to protect you, he said. From information? From making this harder. You mean from stopping you? He did not answer. The boutique group postponed the reopening publicly due to brand review. Privately, their attorney requested a meeting at the shop with all parties. My parents tried to exclude me from it. Peter Voss refused. Miss Sorrell controls the disputed marks, he wrote. Her presence is required. Required. It was amazing how one official word could do what years of pleading could not. The meeting happened on a Thursday morning under the old brass sign. My parents arrived together. My mother wore pearls Grandma had given her, which felt like a dare. My father carried a leather folder. Cale came too, though nobody had invited him. He leaned against the counter like a man waiting for applause. The buyers brought Peter, their attorney, and a woman named Amara Chen, who introduced herself as Director of Acquisitions. I brought the blue binder. My mother saw it and whispered, "Of course." I smiled. "Good morning." Peter opened with a careful summary. The purchase agreement included physical assets, fixtures, inventory, lease rights if transferable, and seller representations regarding business use of the Sorrell & Stone name. Then he looked at my father. "Mr. Sorrell, did you have authority to transfer the registered marks?" My father opened his folder. "The shop belonged to my mother." "That is not what I asked." My mother jumped in. "Mabel would have wanted us to move forward as a family." I turned a page in my binder. Grandma wrote what she wanted. Cale snorted. "Here we go." I placed the assignment document on the counter. The room changed when people saw Grandma's signature. Not a copy pasted into an argument, not a memory. Her name in blue ink, witnessed and notarized. Amara read silently. Peter read over her shoulder. My father stared at the page without touching it. My mother said, "She was not well." That was the ugliest sentence in the room. I looked at her. She corrected a typo in paragraph 4. Peter cleared his throat. "There is a physician capacity letter attached." I turned another page. From Dr. Hellberg, dated the same week. Cale pushed off the counter. "This is insane. It is a name." "It is the name customers trust," Amara said quietly. He looked at her like he had forgotten buyers could have opinions. Amara continued, "We bought this property because of the brand history. Without the name, design archive, supplier continuity, and customer list authorization, the valuation changes substantially." My father's face tightened. There it was, the part he understood, valuation. Peter folded his hands. "Our position is that the sellers materially misrepresented transferable assets." My mother whispered, "Nolan." My father said, "We can resolve this. Talia can license the name." Everyone looked at me. For years, my family had treated me like a girl playing shop online. Now the entire sale sat quietly on whether I would let them borrow what Grandma had trusted me to hold. "No," I said. My father stared. "No?" "No license for the boutique group under the current sale." Amara's eyebrows lifted, but she did not interrupt. "You would rather the shop sit empty?" my mother asked. "I would rather Grandma's name not be used to reward people who erased her wishes." Cale scoffed. "So what, you are going to run it yourself?" I looked around the shop. The glass counters were empty, but I could still see where the rings used to sit. I could still picture Grandma behind the repair desk, loop chains swinging as she leaned over a clasp. "Yes," I said. The word surprised even me. Not because I had never wanted it, because I had been waiting for permission from people who sold the room. My father laughed. "You do not have $700,000. I do not need to buy what I already own. You do not own the building." "No, but I own the name, designs, supplier agreements, and online revenue. I can operate elsewhere. Amara spoke then. Ms. Sorrell, would you consider a direct agreement with us, separate from your parents? My mother turned to her. Excuse me? Amara ignored her. We are not interested in litigation if there is a viable brand partnership. I respected the directness. Not for this location, I said. Why? I looked at my parents. Because I will not rebuild Grandma's legacy inside a sale made by lying about me. Peter wrote something down. My father stepped closer. Talia, think carefully. Family does not get many chances to undo damage. You sold my chance and called it adult decision-making. His face hardened. You ungrateful little— Mr. Sorrell, Peter said sharply. My father stopped, not because he respected me, but because a lawyer had put a fence around the room. The settlement took 4 months. The boutique group rescinded part of the purchase valuation and pursued damages against my parents for misrepresentation. I was not part of that fight, except as the person whose documents made it possible. My parents kept some money and lost a great deal more than they expected. Cale stopped posting about legacy. I opened Sorrell's studio in a smaller space 3 blocks away. Not as grand, not as historic. The floor creaked. The front window faced a bakery instead of the square. But the bell over the door sounded almost the same after Sita sent me Grandma's old one from storage with a note that said, "Some sounds belong with the right person." The first display I built held 6 rings from Grandma's river collection. I set the crescent mark in the corner of every card. On opening day, women came with old repair envelopes. Men came with watches. A girl came in with her mother and asked if jewelry stores were allowed to smell like cookies because the bakery door kept opening next door. I told her the best ones were. The first sale was not a diamond. It was a $12 silver chain for a widow named Mrs. Pell, who brought in a locket Grandma had repaired twice before. The hinge was loose again. I fixed it at the counter while she told me Grandma used to keep peppermints in the left drawer for nervous brides. Your mother told everyone the old shop was gone, Mrs. Pell said. I clicked the hinge back into place. The old building is gone. She touched the crescent card beside the register. That is not what I asked. I looked around the little room, at the bell, the trays, the sketches, the ampersand waiting to be hung. No, I said, the shop is still here. Mrs. Pell paid for the chain and left a 20 in the tip jar I did not have the heart to remove. That night, I taped the receipt into the back of Grandma's ledger. Not because $12 saved the business, because it proved the first person through the door understood what my family had tried not to understand. Legacy is not the square footage. It is the trust that follows the name. At noon, my mother arrived. She stood just inside the door, looking smaller without the old shop around her. It is nice, she said. Thank you. Your grandmother would have liked the window. I did not give her the comfort of agreeing quickly. She touched a display card. Your father is angry. I know. Cale says you ruined his investment. Cale did not invest. She looked at me then, and for once there was no performance in her face. I did not think she would leave that much with you. That was the closest she had ever come to the truth. She did not leave it with me because I was special, I said. She left it with me because I listened. My mother's eyes shone, but I had learned that tears are not always apologies. Can we start over? She asked. I looked around the shop I had built from the part they forgot to steal. No, I said gently, but we can start from what is true. She nodded once. It was not reconciliation. It was a receipt. Sometimes that is enough for a first step. I still have the blue binder. It sits in my office beside Grandma's old ledger. People laugh at binders until a binder stands between a legacy and the people trying to sell it. My parents tell people the sale was complicated. Cale says lawyers got greedy. The boutique group opened a lifestyle store in the old building under a name nobody remembers. The brass letters came down after the settlement. I kept one of them. The ampersand from Sorrell and Stone hangs behind my counter now. Customers ask about it sometimes. I tell them it came from the old shop and that some things survive when they are held correctly. That is my story. My family sold the building, but they did not own the name. They sold the counters, but they did not own the designs. They sold a version of my grandmother that never existed, and one blue binder brought the real one back into the room. If you have ever been called difficult for protecting what someone else wanted to take, remember this: paperwork is not cold when it is carrying love. Share this story with someone who needs that, and tell me where you are listening from.